Hi, my name's Shihadeh. I am presenting my mini change project on improvement of sense of belonging. And it's going to be improvement through engagement, and the project largely hinges on instructional leadership. So, comparative social emotional learning survey data generated using panorama survey data illustrates three metrics of school culture, teacher to student relations, sense of belonging, and engagement. All of them are very low. And engagement is defined as a subdomain of sense of belonging. So the project largely focuses on that improvement in engagement. The SMART goal is to work with grade 11 to increase sense of belonging via engagement. And to measure that from November to March on student-conducted surveys. This would entail assessment and monitoring, creation of an SEL committee to analyze data, sharing of strategies, monitoring, and adjusting. It would also entail regular observations and check-ins to guide our efforts, implementation of student surveys on a monthly basis, and regular PLCs and common planning time to share and implement strategies to develop professional capacity based on our findings. Initially, we set out to create the SEL committee from left to right. That's my VP, Don Stoop. Next to me is Janice Tapia. She's a fellow English teacher. To my right is Norma Cordona. She's our school climate specialist. And to the right of her is Alona Sekowitz, our guidance counselor. And at the end on the right there is Carol Ramirez. She is an ESL teacher. The leadership team was created basically having an eye for leadership. I saw that these individuals really do engagement well. They're bright, they're effusive, they're have really great relationships with their students, and that's how I brought together this team. Panorama data illustrated issues in sense of belonging. I created a survey aligned to domains 1B, 2A, and 3C, which I'll elaborate on in a later slide. But um, these questions were, do you feel respected by your teachers and classmates? Do you feel safe and supported in your classroom? How often do you feel actively engaged in lessons? Do the activities in class make learning interesting for you? How would you rate the variety of learning activities used in the classroom? Do you have opportunities to participate in different types of learning activities, for example, group work, projects, and discussions? And does your teacher connect the lessons to real life situations of your interest or your interest? So the student surveys resulted in an Excel sheet like this. And what we did is we randomized the students in each class. We selected 3 students. So you have there, Miss Tapia has 2 classes. I have 2 classes. Dr. Riggins has 3, and Miss Melendez has 3 classes. And across the board, there's our findings, initial findings. And this is 1 month, the following month of November. So teachers also align their PDPs using the same 3 metrics: 1B, planning and preparation; 2A, classroom environment; and 3C, instruction. I adapted a framework for observation using the Kim Marshall protocol, which is heavily reliant on reflection and feedback. So the idea was to gauge the teacher using this framework, but also enable them in a post-conference protocol to gauge themselves before meeting with them. And then we would share notes, and it would really be an opportunity for teachers to guide their own professional development. and talk about areas that they would like to improve, and just to share notes and have a nice, robust conversation. Essentially, working side by side with teachers in an effort to build community improve leadership. Some of the initial findings from student surveys and observations were that students feel moderately respected by their teachers and peers, with most answering always or often to this question, which is good. Variability in student engagement was sometimes in each class, and there was a dip between October and November. And that was observed as well. Some students on their phones or not really a part of the lesson or really not engaging much at all. And whether students found instruction interesting, most were answering sometimes. Opportunities to participate, most answered sometimes. Whether students connect to real life experiences, most answered sometimes, with one or two outliers. And there was teacher variability. Some teachers really engaged students very well and made sure to make sure everybody was in the lesson and engaged to the best of their ability. And there are challenges there as well. But while some teachers really didn't have a great handle on engaging students and keeping them kind of more involved in what's happening instructionally. So we started with improvements to tiered instruction, which required gathering more immediate information, formative assessment to kind of pinpoint what who needed to be pulled and brought to a smaller uh, conference area or small group instruction. We did this in strides. We didn't go for the full out uh, formative assessment pull schedule that is ideal. What we did is we first started with state data and benchmark data to create groups that admittedly are not as flexible. But teachers need to first do this in stages. Let's build towards meeting with students regularly, and let's develop the skill of formative assessment and really generating student data to guide and tailor instruction and meet with students and be more flexible. Um, so we started, like I said, using standardized data and benchmark data to create these groups, and implemented some guided engagement strategies. This is also to demonstrate expectations related to small group instruction when the teacher wasn't guiding the instruction in the small group. So this is students working and doing reciprocal teaching protocol, wherein we address some of the issues in the group. Some teachers felt that or shared that sometimes a student would do all the work and one student would do all the work in the group. So the reciprocal protocol was a nice way to delegate roles within the group. And this comprehensive strategy, you'd have one person be a predictor, and somebody else would be the questioner, and somebody else would be the clarifier. And we'd work through what those tasks mean and how to do them. And in this way, everybody's responsible for some aspect of the assignment. Um, and in this way, by doing this in a guided way, when students were expected to do this in tier two, uh, that wasn't as guided and handheld, they were more facile, more able to do that. We also shared conversation protocols and different strategies and guided so that students would be more able to do this within group settings that didn't involve the teacher uh, guiding the whole instruction. So opportunities for sharing and professional development resulted. We started improving collaboration strategies, ways to uh, enable critical thinking and share diverse perspectives, which I'll show some of those in later slides. Ways to leverage student-centered instruction and group work that incorporated student assets, their identity, their lived experience, to make learning more meaningful and inclusive and culturally responsive. We also adapted quick writes from our SEL committee, sharing through our school climate specialist. We were able to take these quick writes and adapt them to topics that we were working with. Also, we did rely on each other's expertise. For example, one of our ELA teachers was very good with the quick writes, using them to adapt to readings. Uh, my contribution, I'm really very good at doing small group instruction and using student-generated feedback to create those groups. So I showed some ways of doing that and some strategies for collaboration. But we also brought something meaningful to the table. We made inroads into culturally responsive education that we thought students might have ability to relate to. For example, some of the universal struggles on display in um, Upton Sinclair's work resonates in their world, and culturally responsive education really rests on representation and advocacy. So students wrote letters on Jurgis, the protagonist's behalf, to Roosevelt, describing the decisions and what he should do. And in part of the letters, they wrote experiences that they've heard of or touch close to home related to the immigrant experience. And this was particularly um, important given we have a large Hispanic and immigrant population. So we try to make it relevant and meaningful, and also enable students to have a voice. And because CR, culturally responsive instruction, incorporates representation and advocacy, we discussed issues that were meaningful to students. For example, the picture here, we talked about women's rights in one project, and a student who experienced discrimination was able to write about that. And relevance was definitely found in the discrimination found in LGBTQ community, where students reflected on and created connections and discussed and researched issues related to the LGBT community and the possible cause for injustice. And much of it hinged on education and tolerance, especially as students presented possible ways to mitigate issues with bias and discrimination. In professional development, we also discussed and implemented strategies to help create conversation and include all students. Uh, Here we have a collaborative and engagement structure known as Socratic Seminar, where students independently engage with provocative statements around identity. And then they read We Wear Masks by Paul Laurence Dunbar, who experienced oppression after the end of slavery, because his suffering continued despite, as with all African Americans in that era, having to uh, not really show his true emotions and express himself as a member of society, not being accepted as a valid member of society. Here's a conversation with these students dealing with the topic of identity and oppression. We also incorporated more regular quick writes related to SEL, and these were created by our climate coach to put students in touch with alternate perspectives and hear diverse views. Um, it also helps illustrate how others deal with challenges and regulate emotion and learn from their experiences. Here below you have an example of a quick write adapted to a protocol called silent conversation, where a prompt is put in the center of a paper. Each student has a different color marker, and they write their responses, their individual response to the prompt. And then we turn the paper, and the students then read the response of another student and respond to that response, thereby illustrating empathetic understanding and being open to other perspectives. We also used a quick write protocol to adapt to content, and this was shared by one of our ELA team members, Dr. Riggins, as a way for students to tap in to the content in a way that was meaningful. They asked the question based on an examination of title, what is at least one example of a universal topic or theme that will be explored based on the title of this text? And then they go deeper. Why is the topic important for life, college, or career? And they go deeper. How can we use this understanding of this information of today's text in our lives? And thereby really increasing the relevance of the topic and making it more engaging and meaningful to the student. These quick writes were also adapted from that team member and implemented more regularly, so students can get a handle on what they're doing, whether positive or negative, and what choices they can make to improve on and grow as individuals. So it asks students to reflect on one rose, which is something that is happening that's working for them, or one thorn, which is a negative, something that takes away from them, and thereby finding ways to develop on either stopping this action or starting a new action to head in a better direction. And it becomes very student-centered and meaningful. Overall, professional development focused on target task alignment. It touched on these topics. Enhanced formative assessment, Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction more regularly, illustrating learning environments that are supportive and inclusive and committed to all students, and culturally responsive education related to student experiences. Concurrently, I was operating a school-wide outreach and engagement initiative. I created an SEL volunteer group after school on Wednesdays. Each Wednesday we would meet, and that's a few members of our crew. These are the brave ones who were willing to put on some presentations for other students in the school. So they created presentations with real hardships and scenarios, what they were comfortable with sharing. And these presentations were designed to promote unity through empathy and understanding, outreach and school-wide engagement, and to familiarize students with other ways that they can engage with community. So there were a lot of offerings shared at the end, which I'll share. That's us having some McDonald's because they were so brave and so helpful. For the presentations, I coordinated with our annex team members to involve our freshmen. This is in a separate building, so we created a schedule, and our student presenters presented 11 different sessions over the course of 2 weeks. During the session, they shared personal challenges that they faced, that they felt comfortable with sharing, and productive ways they faced them, and things they had wished they'd known sooner. Then they shared some outreach and support programs and a number of other programs that we offer at Halsey, just to get the word out there. And lastly, they, after information related to social issues that could arise and peer pressure and other commonly faced challenges by adolescents, students participated in an interactive booklet, and it was like a fun challenge for students to compete and share what they've learned. At the end of student presentations, we shared a slide with all of those QR codes on the bottom that correspond to a Microsoft Forms that I managed. Each of those QR codes are the offerings that we uh, have at Halsey, including Art and Music Club, Gardening Club, Journalism, Yearbook Club, National Honor Society, and some more. The National Honor Society Club, a note on that, we decided because a synergy arose to get the word out about National Honor Society, given Dr. Riggins really didn't have any takers over the last couple of years. Uh, one year, or the current year, she had just one student, and in past years, she had very few students. So we wanted to get the word out there to help out a fellow team member and to engage in students at the same time. So aside from the QR codes that the students created, I also reached out to our tech coordinator to create a Schoology web page that would be shared for school-wide. Every student essentially had another class on their schedule called the SEL Connection, and in clicking on the SEL Connection in Schoology, each student would have a calendar of all the events happening in school, and a notification bell would go off anytime new events were loaded. That was managed by me and Miss Cardona, our climate specialist. And once again, the QR codes were shared in there, and other folders for scholarships and other opportunities were shared as well. So the following bar chart shows increases in attendance to the programs that we offer uh, from November to April. Just a snapshot comparison. In the Art and Music Club, which is the first bar chart on the left, we started with 8 students, and it fluctuated above 10 um, at times. Our gardening club went from 6 students to 14, and this would also include annex students who are in a different building who don't commonly attend. So we would have a few students now welcome to come into the main school, the main, which we call it, and participate. Journalism went from 1 student to 4 students. National Honor Society, which was a big focus during the presentations at the end, went from 6 students up to 18 students, and that would include 6 freshmen from the annex, 4 sophomores, and 8 juniors from our English classes that we're using um, to increase sense of belonging for part of the mini change project. And lastly, yearbook club went from 15 students to 21 students. I wanted to include a picture of the National Honor Society because it was a tremendous increase. And that's Dr. Riggins on the left there. She was part of the SEL committee too. And by way of collaboration, we found the synergy and created a space for growth in the National Honor Society. This picture does not include our freshmen. They were in the annex building at the time, but it's a big win for Halsey. Final survey data for the month of March illustrates increases in all of these areas. Most students are at this point re reporting that they're feeling comfortable in classes, that teachers often sit with them, that there's more high interest pieces occurring in the classroom, more time to share their perspectives, and they're experiencing like instruction that lends itself to real life situations and speaks to them more meaningfully. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Final note, I just appreciate this opportunity to share the findings, and it's been a growth for me, and I think for the teachers involved, a growing experience for all of us involved. We were able to pull in a lot of new teachers and share with them some ways to grow in instruction and just in pedagogical content knowledge. And some of our veteran teachers, including myself, grew a lot, and we all serve to gain from this. Most importantly, the students serve to gain from this. We saw a lot of real turnaround stories. Thank you very much.